Alright guys, this is Vol, and the game that you're taking a look at is Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars, and many of you guys may be asking, what am I doing commentating on a game like this? Well, a friend of mine lent it to me a while ago, probably a few months ago actually, and I played through it a bit, played the campaign, played a few games against the computer, watched a couple of replays. This is a replay between two players, and I don't really know anything about them. I got the replay off, I think, gamereplays.org, something like that. You'll have to look up the net if you want to actually check it out, but this is a real-time strategy game which is based in a sort of a modern slash sci-fi sort of era. Many of you guys will be familiar with Command & Conquer. It's a very long series. It's been around for quite a long time now. We're in the third game, and this is Tiberium Wars. I believe there's a newer expansion out called Kane's Wrath, which I haven't tried out. Haven't really tried out much. I mean, I played Command & Conquer back on PlayStation 1 many years ago, and it's a bit of fun. I mean, it's an RTS game. As you can see, the standard stuff are there. You control units, move them around the map. In this game, you actually are able to garrison buildings, so that's what these guys are doing at the moment. This building you see in front of you there is actually a building which will allow you to build away from home, which is quite cool, gives you a sort of control area. Back at base, we've got Tiberium silos, the other things which allow you to harvest the resources, which are basically those crystals, a bit like in StarCraft, except they're green instead of blue, and they're called Tiberium instead of minerals. So that's that. Those buildings that you're seeing back at base are barracks and so forth. We're seeing a strategy here where both players are moving towards the center. Well, at least the GDI player is. This is a game with three races. There's the GDI, known as the Global Defense Initiative, I think, against Nod. Can't even remember what they're called. New Order something. Don't even play this game. But just thought I'd show you guys a quick commentary because I had the game on hand. Thanks for lending it to me. You know who you are, a friend of mine that lent it out. And what you're having a look at here is a harassment. The Nod player is moving in with a raider buggy, just having a look around, seeing what his opponent is actually making. And to collect resources in this game, you've got to harvest Tiberium, but you've also got to build power generators to power your structures, a bit like farms in other RTS games and supply depots and stuff in StarCraft. You can also get resources by capturing Tiberium spikes with engineers, which are a type of unit you can make. And here's a static defense turret going up, as you can see, killing a few infantry, but it's not going to do as good against those tanks coming in. In the meantime, the GDI players built some what do you call those things? Bulldogs are moving out and actually trying to deal with these tanks. Won't really be able to deal with them too effectively. They haven't really got the right damage type, I believe. Although, yeah, doing a decent job, killing one tank. And now we've got a flame tank coming in from the Nod forces, and the flame tank's actually quite good. They are not heavily armored, but once they start doing damage, they can do a lot of damage. As you can see, losing his refinery like this really quickly, and as you can see, that refinery just getting mauled. Really cool stuff. Flame tank looks really cool. As you can see, the game runs quite well on my PC. It's that was quite an enjoyable facet of it, and I've been having a bit of fun with it. I stopped playing with it after a while, after I realised that I can't really go on it online without a legitimate key, obviously, and there's not a lot of sort of scene for it or competition, at least among my friends. That is, I'm sure you guys have many friends that play this game very well. Now these flame tanks are really going off right now, destroying all of the economy back at the GDI base, so I think this is a really decisive blow here to the GDI forces. That's the purple base, if you guys were wondering, and he's built a base further up here with a lot of Predator tanks. Those are those tanks coming down the ramp there to try and deal with this, and they should be able to clear this attack out. But I think that loss of these silos was really devastating. Well, not the silos so much. Silos are a building which will allow you to save up more money. That's right, this game has a mechanic where if you end up with a certain amount of cash, you can't actually store it past a certain point unless you build separate buildings to store your cash in, which is really interesting. You can also notice that some of the buildings, the neutral buildings, have been garrisoned by friendly troops, and that's when they turn either purple to mark the GDI player or teal to mark the Nod player. Non-player again trying to do some more harassment on the resources here, but so many Predator tanks at this point, and they're easily able to clear out the attack from Scorpion tanks and so forth. Predator tanks being a GDI type of tank, and Scorpion tanks being a type of Nod tank. Really don't have enough time to explain all the mechanics and units to you guys. Basically, if you play Command & Conquer, you'll know what I'm talking about, and probably way more than what I'm talking about because I don't really play this game. And if you've never seen this commentary before, we'll just take a look at the pretty graphics. That's what it's all about. That's what this commentary is made of mostly. Scorpion tanks again, low and health here, really getting shot to pieces by those Predator tanks. Predator tanks, of course, a tougher type of tank, more expensive, and slightly higher tech. I think they're a little bit hard to get, but once the GDI player gets a lot of them, they really dominate quite well in the mid game, at least, and taking back some of the territory that he had earlier. Anyway, in the meantime, looks like more fights and carnage going on in the center of the battlefield. And before long, I'm just wondering when the GDI player is going to push up, because he's been on the defense for most of the game, and he's building up a lot of tanks at this point. I think if he pushes out with his Predators, he's going to do a lot of damage there. And have a look at that. That's a mobile construction vehicle, an MCV. It's quite cool how it hops along like that, turns into a little bug-like thing, and that's basically a new base. It's like an expansion. For those of you familiar with other RTS games, it's how you sort of go and expand your base in terms of your buildings. It's possible, excuse me, it's possible to expand without those things by just building up new buildings and so forth next to minerals, or Tiberium I should call them. These guys attacking right now are stealth tanks, and they are stealth until they attack. So unlike, say, Dark Templars in StarCraft, it's a bit more like Warcraft 3, where if you're invisible and you decide to attack, then you become visible. So that's what's going on here. We've got stealth tanks shooting up some Tiberium harvesting facilities, refineries, shall we call them, doing a lot of damage by the looks. So the GDI player is putting up a turret which will allow him to detect, I think it'll allow him to detect anyway, and scare off that stealth tank for the meantime. But we've got more stealth tanks on the other side, causing a lot of damage, and Predators have finally arrived. Where have they been? Bit of a slower moving tank, but you could expect that from a more heavily armoured, more powerful tank. Unfortunately though, he doesn't really have much mobile detection to be able to take out these stealth tanks way at the back of the base, and it's quite cool how they run over trees and the infantry as well. That's one interesting thing about this game, is that often vehicles don't have the type of attack to actually deal with troops, but you can actually physically force them to move over enemy troops, thus killing them by just running them down. And I think that's quite a funny little function. As you notice here, those buildings have got that sort of lightning bolt icon over them, and they're blacked out. That means that they are powerless. You've actually got to build power supply to actually power your buildings at a certain point in the game, and that's also what gives you control over the minimap. In fact, if you run out of power completely and you don't have enough power generators at all, you don't actually get to use your minimap, which is a mechanic which is really unique to the Command & Conquer series. Many of you guys will be familiar with the sister game, Red Alert, and its various incarnations, which has the same feature as well. Red Alert, I believe, is sort of like Soviets versus Americans or something. I can't really remember. It's a bit more tied down to history, or at least some of the elements of it, as opposed to Command & Conquer, which is a bit more sci-fi. Correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously not an expert. Just bringing you guys the action, and here's some action right now. Stealth tanks and a lot of light vehicles coming in. We've only got some missile troops on the ground to try and defend here, but really not a lot being done. The GDI player is going to have to move in with some Predator tanks if he's going to deal with this. Those missile troops are not going to cut it, especially once they get run down by stealth tanks. It doesn't look like it's going to be happening shortly. In the meantime, but we'll see. Man, those buildings just getting absolutely pummeled by these stealth tanks. The missile troops are helping a little bit, but it's not going to save that building there by the looks once he keeps attacking it. Now, you don't actually need worker units to repair things in this game. You can just use a tool to repair, which is another difference between other RTS games that you used to me covering. So just bear that in mind. You can also sell buildings really quickly and depower them. That's another mechanic related to the type of mechanic that I was talking about there with power. And finally, we've got some Predator tanks ready to try and defend here. In the meantime, it's time for some counterattacks. So we've got the GDI moving out with a huge army of Predators. Those little dudes you see running up to them right now, the infantry are, what do you call it? Can't remember what those are called. They basically are suicide bombers, and they run up to your tanks and blow your tanks or your buildings up. But there are too many tanks to stop at this point. Now the GDI player has really managed to get enough resources to do this, and it's absolutely just